Baik, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Eh, saya nggak tahu ya nanti pakai bahasa Inggris atau bahasa Indonesia, tapi akan berusaha mix ininya. Jadi for my topic today related with the topic the previous one from Professor Morris. She already brief us, explain about all the global uh, policy on chemical management. So I will try to make short explanation how those convention implemented in Indonesia. And we have colleague from Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Maybe can help me if need extra explanation because most of this convention relate to the environment because drive by UNEP. Okay, apa tuh? Terus di atas ya? Okay. First of all, I would like to describe about sustainable development goals. Oh, maybe I will introduce myself first. I'm Trili Gayanti. You can call me Liga. My background study from chemical engineering for bachelor and master and PhD from environmental science. Maybe I am the same age with Professor Morse because I already searched your profile and you graduated a bachelor in 2001 and I in 2002. So really, yeah. Oh, very honor for me. Thank you. And in environmental studies, we are study about this sustainable history and the same with Professor Morris. First of all, we should read the Rachel Carson Silent Spring, really inspiring book. It's about the very sad condition that the bird suddenly gone because of the toxic pesticide. And then those history come up with many books from economists, environmentalists, and engineers to reevaluate the economy and industrial development in the global situation because that time the industrial very growth very fast because the challenge of population growth very fast also, so need more development of industrial. And I really inspired by the book of E.F. Schumacher, Small is Beautiful. And that book very inspired me to finish my PhD because I study on the small scale and distributed green ammonia. Yeah. And on this sustainable development goals that already settlement with the Brundtland report said that sustainable development goal is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. Dan juga many goals should be fulfilled for every country of UN nation. And this sustainability not very easy to implement because should be consider triple bottom lines that consists of economy, society, and environment with the stable triangular connection. And this from the SDGs we come up with the zone of chemical management, which relates on the goals of sustainable production and consumption, and also for the climate and also in the environment. So these SDGs inspired for next coming convention. I will not describe this because already described by Prof. Morris, Chemical Weapon Convention. This convention relates to prohibited for the chemical production to support mass weapon. So every industrial facility should be declared as a commercial base, not to use to be weapon. And then Montreal Protocol and Vienna Convention on ODS and also Stockholm Convention on POPs. Rotterdam Convention on PIC, Minamata Convention on Mercury, and then we go to discuss about SciCam because in the last session there are question from participant how about pharmaceutical waste and so on. So more briefly, it will describe in the SciCam. So this slide will tell us about how Indonesia adopted the Chemical Weapon Convention after ratification. We already established the law in the last session. This one, the law is number 9, 2008, about the using of the chemicals and provision to use the chemical as chemical weapon. And we are really proud because Ministry of Industry become a national authority for implementation of Chemical Weapon Convention, and we really close with the organization that OPCW. And every year we should accept some verification and also declaration for chemical facilities. And we are now still have homework how to deliver the law to the technical regulation. We still have issues on harmonization this uh, derivation of the law with another technical regulation among chemicals. So it will the end will come the idea why we need the chemical law. So it will make a more harmonized each regulation among convention in the national level. And also we are really already implement for the Convention of Vienna and also Montreal Protocol on ODS. We have some regulation here, government regulation on hazardous substances management, and also for industrial, Ministry of Industry regulation on prohibition on production ODS, and also production of goods that use ODS. Some of them is electronics. And then we have a regulation on Ministry of Trade that regulate the import of ODS because you already know that some ODS have extended time to pass out. So until the time should consider the quota and also monitor the end user of the ODS. And we still have challenges to have ODS alternative because you know that we don't have any industry that produce refrigerant. Most of chemicals still import. And then we also have regulation from Ministry of Environment and Forestry about how to publish the recommendation of importation ODS and hydrofluorocarbon. And for everybody to explore more, you can check this source on the website. Every slide I mentioned about the source because many updates and new list of the ODS that's maybe can have any alternative also on the website. Yes, this is Rotterdam Convention on PIC. Every 2 years, there is delegation of my unit attended the meeting of COP in Geneva because we really concerned on this because Indonesia economy basis on agriculture, so pesticide really influence on our economic and specialty for food security in our national level. And and this regulate in this convention already regulate in the national level in the government law of hazardous substances management in 2001. and also already implemented in the Ministry of Agriculture on the prohibition of POPs in the list of the active ingredient pesticide. And you know that the list of this PIC list always increase every 2 years. So we should consider how the farmers, how the agriculture sector can adapt this regulation, because we know this convention not to pass out, not to ban the active ingredient of pesticide and also formulation, but uh, this regulation will change the business from B2B become G2G, because to export and import should have notification from government. The After that, the industry can, or the business can export or import. And this scenario in the Rotterdam Convention, and also the Stockholm Convention on POPs. Uh, Already regulated in the government regulation 2001. So the gap between 2001 until now, we have a huge gap on the list, because the COPS list already increased, like flame retardants like PBDE, HBCD, and many compound that uh, apa, we have a gap and issues on this, because on the list is still single substance. On the supply demand in the global, maybe we use these chemicals already in the mixture. So how to determine and how to evaluate the mixture or intermediate products really hard for us, because if we want to know, we should have good laboratory and also mechanism how to regulate the import product also, so the import cannot easily come to Indonesia if they contain the POPs. This is still big issues, because in the our harmonized system classification in the custom system, we only can easily using the single substance, but for the mixture and also the consumer goods, it's very hard. If in European Union they have reached or some risk assessment mechanism, it should be supported by ECHA, right? ECHA in the Helsinki with the good system of IT and also laboratory and also consumer good voice like alert system. I know that RAPEX, it's very good system. The RAPEX can encourage every member state of AU to uh, complain about the risk of consumer goods. So will be evaluated by ECA, and then they will ban those consumer goods. That's good system, but for Indonesia, it's really hard to implement this system, because need a lot of budget and also high level strong will. Which one? And this recently published Minamata Convention on Mercury, and for myself, I already attended to INC 4 and INC 9 of this Minamata Convention. Very interesting. This background is to avoid the mercury hazard, but for implement very wide range, because it's not only talking about the mercury itself, but also how mercury emission and also um, mercury content in the mine product. It's very still hard. If we're talking about the single substance and the maybe medical devices with mercury, is easily to ban or pass out. But if from the uh what do we call PLT itu apa, Pak? Yeah, from power plant, also cement factories, and also from mines, it's really hard. But for gold mining, we already use cyanide to replacement of the mercury. But in the level of the regulatory, we only have presidential decree for national action plan to reduce and pass out mercury, and also Ministry of Health. They already have the pass out and also to take out the medical devices using mercury. And also Ministry of Environment already have uh, waste management from medical devices that contain mercury. But the challenge still there because we know some part of Indonesia have cinnabar. Mercury relative easily to convert from cinnabar with the high concentration. So this is still challenges for Indonesia. But we already banned of export or import of mercury. So we hope the cinnabar development will come up to become mercury. And this is big issue after all. The previous question, how about pharmaceutical pollution and so on, is already list in the emerging issues policy in the SciChem, strategic approach to international chemical management, which is still go around from the discussion every 5 years in the ICCM. So still have really hard for us because Ministry of Industry since more than 10 years already sum up or already submit the draft of the chemical law to the government. We hope that from the big law of chemicals and propose special agency for this chemical management like ECHA, like EPA, like another countries should have special body or agency for this. That's why not consist of many ministries, but already independent body to control this chemical management. But until now, the government not proceed this draft. So still challenges for us how we implement this one because this will interrupt our industry also and also influence for the export and import activities. So this opportunity for us, I submit here creating a strong policy framework for sound chemical management and also support and support to development of safer chemicals. We know that multinational company already consider how they should use the raw material and intermediate will support them to fulfill another regulation from exporting country. Because if they not fulfill this risk assessment system, they cannot supply this product to the exporting countries. And the development research technology standard certification and monitoring body is very strong need for us because to control any consumer good, the relevant tools is a standard because every standard very specific for to chemical impurities or chemical measure on the consumer goods. And then connect with the global chemical expert like here they they are really with already with us and system motivators for implementing green chemistry because we have no sufficient fiscal incentive for this import till voluntary. Even we have a policy on green industry, I think not enough to cover all these issues. Okay, that's all
Yes.
my presentation. I think enough for my time.
Terima
Thank you so
kasih.
much.
Thank
Wassalamualaikum
you.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih, Ibu Liga. Okay, thank you for your presentation. Okay, so yes, of course, yes. We will have a discussion. So if you have any questions, please hold the questions first because we have another two speakers before we enter the discussion. Okay, so next I would like to invite Bapak Beni Franky Simanjuta from PT Sigma Utama to give the presentation. Please, Bapak Beni, you can enter the stage. And the presentation time is around 15 minutes. Yes, 15 minutes. Ke sini, Pak. Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Let me introduce myself. My name is Benny Franky Simanjuntak from PT Sigma Utama. My background education, accounting, totally different with what I want to share with you, chemical. uh, it's a honor to PT Sigma Utama to share with you about the Sigma Utama experience and initiative in green chemical industry. Sigma Utama established in 1932. This is our ownership structure. We totally state-owned company group. Our shareholder PT Pupuk Indonesia Niaga, and the other shareholder is employee unions PT Pupuk Indonesia Niaga, and our ultimate holding is PT Pupuk Indonesia Holding Company. Is a state-owned company. This is our facility. We have on production facility located in Bogor, West Java. Maybe you need 1.5 hour driving, to reach the plant. We also have the QC lab, R&D lab, and we company is already certified with the international standard organization. We have capacity production. Chemical capacity production is 42%. MOPC, marine offshore protective coating, is 48% from total capacity production, and the rest is decorative production, only 10%. This is some of our customer. Of course, our customer is our Pupuk Indonesia Group. Our ultimate holding have 10 subsidiary. They are Pupuk Kalimantan Timur, located in East Kalimantan, Petrokimia Gresik, located in East Java, Pupuk Sriwijaya Palembang, located in South Sumatra, Pupuk Ujang, West Java, Pupuk Iskandar Muda, and Aceh. They produce fertilizer. They are fertilizer manufacturer. And also their subsidiary is Rekin EPC company. Pupuk Indonesia Niaga, our shareholder, is a trading company. And also our group have own logistic transportation to distribute fertilizer all across the Indonesia region, PT Pupuk Indonesia Logistik. And the other is Pupuk Indonesia Utility, produce electricity, and the other Pupuk Indonesia Pangan. Others customer, Pertamina, PLN, power plant, electricity, Inalum, they are operate in the mining, Freeport also in mining, TP operate in the construction and building, and then Bukit Asam coal mining, the other customer KAI and train transportation, PAL shipyard company, Pelayaran Nasional Indonesia is shipping line company, and etc. Our main product is paint and coating. Coating liquid, liquefiable, or mastic composition that after application to a surface is converted into a solid protective, decorative, or functional adherent film. Paint is a pigmented liquid or resin applied to a substrate as a thin layer that is converted to an opaque solid film after application. It's commonly used as a decorative or protective coating. The type of paint and coating based on the paste, we have liquid paint, powder coating, liquid paint based on the dilutes being used, like solvent based, water based, solvent free. Based on the generic, epoxy, alkyd, polyurethane, acrylic, and silicone. Based on industrial segment, protective and marine coating, decorative, and also automotive paint. The ingredients of paint is binder, film forming material that will carry itself and other ingredients onto surface to be coated. Pigment, solid material that give color or opacity to surface. Filler, non-coloring pigments that are used for their mechanical property or film modification. Aggregate, large coarse filler used for extra properties such as glass bead for reflected in road marking paint. Other ingredients, additive, ingredients added in small amount to impart some property to the wet product or the final paint film. Solvent, diluent, viscosity, reducing to ease the processing and application of paint. This is our product protective coating, mode of work, barrier, protect the metal from corrosion by using impermeable material in form of binder, pigment, filler. Inhibitive, incorporate soluble anti-corrosive pigment that in contact with intruding moisture can passive the coating surface interface. Galvanic, intentionally put a large amount of zinc so that when corrosion cell occurs, it will consume the zinc first instead of steel. We also produce marine coating because Indonesia is a marine area, yeah, maritime transport for people and goods is considered cheaper than transport by air or ground, although significantly slower for longer distance. Yeah, we have a regulation that every 1 year or 2 years the ship must be repaint and must be repair in the shipping yard. Voyage in seawater expose the ship to two main elements, corrosion and marine growth. While corrosion is not relevant in wooden or fiber ship, the majority of steel ship require through protection. On the other hand, marine growth can happen on every type of ship material. They are cleaning onto the whole surface and can add significant amount to ship initial wake depth. The fuel consumption will increase. Hull protection mainly done by using anti-fouling paint. This is the company concern about the sustainability coating toward the trend, yeah, sustainability coating, how to use renewable material, of course, reducing carbon, and then process efficiency enhancement, waste minimization, energy and resource conversion, and also negligible VOC emission. Previously, green or environmental friendly coating was defined merely by reduction in VOC values. Nowadays, driven by three key elements: health, climate change, and circular economy. With all these challenges, paint scientists are presented with more chance for innovation. This is a potential innovation in the future. Many potential development we can develop in industrial application like healthcare industry, aerospace industry, maritime industry, water management industry, consumer goods, building, construction, printing industry, automobile industry, power generation industry, defense industry, and extract. Regulated substance as paint ingredients. How about the sigma utama standing? Substance mercury, we already totally phase out for the mercury since 2000. Formaldehyde, our product already comply with the in Indonesia national standard since 2014. We have brand Sigma Lumina Performance, Sigma Lumina X-Pac, Sigma Lumina Defender, and also Sigma Lumina Waterproof. Already comply with the regulation for the government. The organotin, Sigma-Tama anti-fouling paint already certified with the PBT free. Sibutrin, Sigma-Tama anti-fouling paint already certified by Sibutrin. We already have certified from the IMO, International Marine Organization. Coal-tar, Sigma-Tama developed two alternative to coal-tar epoxy coating. One is bituminous base and the other is pour epoxy. Now we try to trial application stage at our group. Lead, Sigma-Tama standing already phased out. Yellow pigment, Sigma-Tama already participate in convention of lead pigment phasing out plan in Indonesia 2022. This is some case story experience we already proposed to our group. The one is our group PTPI Logistik that delivered the fertilizer to from the South Sumatra to Semarang, Central Java. We apply while the voyage sailing, yeah. So the company have saving days, saving time, saving of course saving cost, yeah. Because once the company or the voyage have repair, it needs 1 month time to repair the vessel, the voyage. But we propose while sailing we can repainting the vessel. This is the application surface preparation, wet abrasive blasting. Area cargo hold consists of 3 segments. Each segment painted during sea voyage from Semarang to Palembang, Central Java to South Sumatra. First coat, we using Simacover EP Unicode 125 micron. Second coat, we using epoxy phenolic 125 micron. The second experience we trial now is the petrochemical industry process petroleum and natural gas raw material into various type of chemical products such as plastic, fertilizer, and other chemicals. Such industry often uses chemical compounds which can cause corrosion to the facility both by direct contact or corrosive atmosphere surrounding. Comparatively, we already trial in our group Petrokimia Gresik. In 1 year period, the system will emit VOC only 5.1 gram per meter square area of the same chemical plant. This is the photo, the picture that our product trial in our group Pupuk Kujang in West Java and also in Petrokimia Gresik in East Java. This year 2024. Okay, thank you. I think that's all. We can share our experience and our initiative. Hopefully, it will be useful for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Benny. Okay, thank you, Pak Benny, for the presentation. And then, yes, again, I would like to tell the audience if you have any questions, please hold on to the questions as we will save it for the last session after the third speaker. So next, I would like to invite Bapak Ahmad Irwian Haq atau Bapak Rian from PT Thermax International Indonesia. Again, to Pak Rian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Bu Sari. Okay, thank you for having me again today because this is my second opportunity to speak about our experience in green chemistry in our company. The first session before was held early August last session. Okay, today I'm glad to be here in front of you all. I think I'm trembling to standing here in front of experts like you all. But Here, I would like to share what we are doing regarding about the green chemistry that we have been doing until now. But first of all, maybe I would like to introduce how I'm here and I can speak experience here. Previously, I'm here, chemical division for Thermax International Indonesia. Previously, I was a student in chemical engineering in ITB, same colleague with you. This maybe all some of you here. The second degree I have management industry, so I cover for business aspect. Maybe tomorrow we can discuss about business. I would like to hear from the experts. So regarding the chemical business in Indonesia, I cover from the chemical engineering aspect, and I equip with the few point of view of management business regarding this chemical business in Indonesia. So I feel that both of the technical and non-technical, I maybe have a little bit authorization to speak about this sector. And the third one, this is my background industry, so I think I commit to do chemical uh, circle about water treatment, especially in chemical. I did in Alco Equalab, Baker Hughes, and Cubic Energy is related about the green chemistry and green energy. So this is my profile. And here I would like to share about Thermax. Thermax is a global company come from India. Uh, we have many division that relate about the green chemistry, also green energy. So the first one is power. We have power plant, and it can be uh, maybe majority is coal fire power plant, but we have biomass also. So it's related about the green energy also. And then the heating means a boiler. Paramex mean boiler in another language and term. Heating, we have not only the coal boiler for low pressure boiler, but we have also uh, a biomass technology of boiler. So regarding the green energy, that this is maybe part of the 12 principle of green chemistry, we have this in our product and our experience. And the next one is cooling, also water treatment and chemical. We deliver the solution to the market that we have for raw material, and then we utilize with our product, and then become the desired product by the market itself. And for the waste, we also utilize and we apply some stages for make it more accept, acceptable by the effluent regulation or effluent impact for the biota, etc. So this is that we have been doing in Termex Global, and I've been here in chemical division. Yeah, our motto, our big tagline is we would like to be part of the company that very concerned about the clean air. Because we have Enviro division that is related to the ESP, electrostatic precipitator, that this is less pollutant for the air. And the next one, clean energy. Of course, we have we support to the biomass boiler, like that biomass makes uh, fuel for the power plant, and clean water, of course. And this air, energy, water, we concern a lot of that in our company. And green chemistry in Thermax, we started, I think, since 2005 for the boiler water chemistry. Here we limited for the topic about the water treatment chemical, replacing non-biodegradable to be biodegradable. I think this is the first topic that we can share here as our experience in Thermax. That is why we, since 2005, we developed Max Green as the chemical of that support to green chemistry principle. And then the second one, we substituted the hazardous compounds with non-hazardous compounds, like carcinogenic chemical. Usually in power plant, in coal-fired power plant, uh, as for example under PLN. The PLN is the state-owned company that this is the single off-taker for the electricity in Indonesia. Many coal-fired power plant under PTPLN still use hydrazine. Hydrazine, as we know that within EPA, Enviro Protective Agency, it's categorized as carcinogenic, but still used in some of the coal-fired power plant here. And we did for the converting from the hydrazine to the carbohydrate. So make hazardous compound to less hazardous compound. This is part of the green chemistry within the 12 principle. That, but not all the hydrogen application can be replaced by carbohydrate. I think this is not technical argument, but I think it's more to non-technical argument. We don't know why still exists there. Maybe also the next one, the zero phosphate treatment for the cooling system, still there. Zinc phosphate application still common here in the industry, in the market. Sometimes we offer for the non-phosphate, but still zinc phosphate application is too common here. Even the proven is there that the non-phosphate still delivering the MPY corrosion rate is less than the phosphate application. But the interest for the market about the non-phosphate still much less than the zinc phosphate application itself. Yes, this is part of our company profile, company brochure that we also put here as a green chemistry principle. Yeah, this is I capture from the browser from our end. Yeah, we have the same term of green chemistry, the invention design. There are 12 tenets that, yeah, this is synchronized with the green chemistry that we have father of green chemistry, right? That we adopt totally for the campaign from ourselves here. In the next paragraph, there are 12 tenets of form bar and so on. And this is the application that we support to the market, especially for the water treatment, because we believe that every factory, every industry needs water treatment, how to make water recycle, etc. We have cooling water treatment, we have boiler water treatment. Then, yes, of course, as a company, as a industry, we need collaboration from the researcher, R&D, etc. But we are here to maybe to bridge the demand, the urgency, the government concern, etc. We here to support, and we also need regulation, and we need to how to have law enforcement. We talk a lot to Pa Yudis from the university how to make more for the law enforcement, for the regulation that took place in this segment. So I think we need more and more collaboration about this aspect regarding the green chemistry. Maybe we have equipment much more about the invention, innovation, regulation, but how to be make it everything's connected with the campaign itself. So we believe maybe we need it takes time, etc. But we commit to do that together. Yeah, this is a part of the journey of the course inhibitor that we also involved here there. First thing we have chromate, but of course this is a as a previous invention we have high toxicity there, and then we replaced to nitrite, and then again the journey continues, become molybdate and become phosphate until now. And phosphate become the common chemistry that will be uh, demanding in the market because maybe it's easy or affordable, accessible as the raw material point of view, etc. But actually, the phosphate itself is remain here in the market. And we initiate to develop this is the phosphate still. Yes, the journey of phosphate itself continues from orthophosphate, polyphosphate, and phosphonate. Yeah, big. This is the journey that, yeah, I think the involvement of green chemistry also here happen from the orthophosphate to the organophosphate. Yes, this is a progress, but we have impact for the eutrophication that its impact to the environment that we would like to campaign also that it need to be avoided in the future because we would like to prevent this happen in the future. With the this is the slide is more related to the Professor Auji about the phytoplankton bioaccumulation, bioconcentration, biotransformation. And I think this is part of that. And as a company for the water treatment, we develop this to concern about to be part about solution about this fact in the market. This is the illustration of that. Maybe it's more described from the slide before, from the uh, Professor Audrey slide before. Okay, this is the zero postpaid component application. Yeah, we provide the inhibition for the corrosion in the application, and then we develop scale and corrosion without phosphate, and then we have a trial about this, and we would like to show you the result. And we combine also with the technology that we have to monitor and to control the performance. We have the real-time device, a real-time monitoring device. It's also online monitoring that we can show through our smartphone. It easily to be seen by the director of BOD or the leader for the from the company that it works very well. Yeah, this is the application of zero postpaid treatment or non postpaid treatment here. This is the correction rate that we can see from the week for the maybe full month. We can see that the correction rate is more and more smooth that compared to the postpaid treatment. I think this is interesting to be seen and to be shown to the market that it works, and also it uh, imply to the campaign about the chemistry, and also it works not only uh, uh, we decrease about the postpaid content, but it works also for the corrosion rate in the application because this application aim to prevent the corrosion for the device like condenser, etc. It works, and also this is the value of the uh, I mean the main parameter that we would like to keep in the device. Zero postpaid treatment, we have correction rate only less than half than the phosphate treatment. 2 MPY versus 4 point something, and then also the uh, cooling water iron less than 1 ppm. This is the impact of the corrosion itself. So it works, and this is a proof that zero phosphate is one of the choice to the market that it should be promote more and more in the future. And this is the figure of the corrosion coupon. It can be shown also to the market from the zero. This is a postpaid. It works. It's also affordable still, and maybe for the commercial, maybe we can talk later. Yeah, and also equipped with the technology that I think this is part of how to make it easy to control and monitor by every stakeholders that involved here. Yeah, yeah. For the summary, this is a better correction compared to the postpaid treatment, and also less nutrient, of course, because there is no postpaid, and eliminate risk of calcium phosphate deposition here because of zero postpaid. And we have also another chemical that involved to the application. I would like to speed up this. We have the fire set that prevent the energy consumption. It's related, but I didn't I forgot to which one the point under the 12 principle that by this chemical we prevent the slagging inside the furnace of the combustion room. It also can save the energy full fuel consumption, especially for the coal or the biomass. Yes, of course, biomass mix for the power plant. This is one of the uh, crucial factor to be uh, green energy application, but it's also how to make it less consumption of the fuel itself. It can improve the carbon usage, and also it can prevent the falling and sagging of furnace, so it can also decrease the cost, and also it can increase or improve the heating, uh, heat transfer, yes, heat exchange from the fuel to the water to be I mean vaporized. And this is a comparison between the uh, before and after. The furnace outlet that we can monitor by the temperature. Yeah, here the furnace outlet is around 260, and then after you applied the chemical for set, become less than that. This is quite significant. Yeah, okay, that's all. Time's up also. This is my presentation that sharing about our what we have been doing in Intermex. So thank you for having me here. Thank you very much. Uh, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, terima kasih Pak Rian for the presentation. Again, so now it's discussion Q&A session. Silakan kalau ada yang mau bertanya kepada tiga narasumber kita tadi, baik kepada Bu Liga mungkin terkait regulation, and then kepada Pak Beni terkait apa saja mungkin bisa dielaborasi what they have done in the company to achieve the green chemistry application, and also at Thermax from Bapak Rian. Boleh silakan? Yes.
Thank you so much. I have a lot of questions for a lot of people, but I'll start with Hamad, who just presented.
Rian.
Rian, sorry,
Yes,
Rian.
no worries.
I wanted to ask you, so congratulations on the development of your new corrosion inhibitor that is phosphate free. I think this is really cool. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. So I understand that maybe you can't share what it is, but can you explain how you tested it for its greenness? You know, is it non-toxicity, no effect to the environment, and also yeah, so maybe did you do an LCA or things to try to understand how green it was? And my second question as well is, can you explain a bit how it was developed? Did you have a partnership with some researchers, or did you do the research yourself in site? And also, how did you finance that research? I think this could be really interesting for the rest of the group here to give good practice about how to develop an innovation such as yours.
Yes, and thank you for the question. The first one is, of course, we have limitation of the environment uh, body wherever the country, because we are global company that we have in India, in Southeast Asia, etc. So we have cooperate with the customer itself how to make the concern from them. But usually the concerns not too specific regarding the all chemistry, but for example, like uh, for the Ministry of the related application, maybe have the parameter limitations that we have to obey together from our company point of view and our customer. So I think it's that's it regarding about the control and monitoring. We have a pattern of the numbers that we have to obey together. The second one is, yes, we collaborate to the researchers, of course, because we have head office in Pune in India. We have R&D there regarding the chemical, and also for the resin ion exchange we have there, and also we have manufactured by ourselves both chemical and resin ion exchange. So we develop together with uh, existing researchers there, and we keep the employee as long as they can uh, work for company. So usually in Dynamics, the guy work for Dynamics maybe for 20 years or more. So that's why we should keep the guy that we believe in them regarding the value, the spirit, etc. Because we would like to own our vision, not only to pick the good engineer or good researcher and then they go. We keep them to make it easier to have the same vision in the future. But sometimes we have also have obstacle regarding the greenwashing that you mentioned before. Yes, for the green chemistry campaign, green chemistry to make it real in the market, we need gradation. Maybe we start from the 5% of our product, 10%. But sometimes a greenwashing campaign also, yeah, it's like trade-off between the how the gradation of the green chemistry application and also uh, how to how to mention that this is greenwashing or this is not greenwashing. We can discuss further about that. But for example, like when we would like to start to campaign or we attract the market about the green chemistry, sometimes uh, somebody called it greenwashing and the campaign should be stopped like that. So I think this is a trade-off between how to start and how to obey the greenwashing I mean uh, term in the real case like that. Maybe hope my answer for your question and concern. Thank you.
Okay, terima kasih Pak Rian. Thank you, Audrey. Any other questions? Yes, Matt.
I hope we'll get to ask all the other two folks as well. So thanks for sharing about your Thermax products. It seems like, at least on your financial statements, you've created a whole separate business unit, which is called Green Solutions. And this Green Solutions is actually growing much faster than the rest of your business. Do you speak at all to any kind of insights you have, either from management or from the executives or the board, on why you created this new business unit and how that's affecting your strategy at the holding group level, as well as all of the subsidiaries?
Yeah, thank you. Regarding this, I think this is starting from the point of view about the opportunity or demand from the market. Like maybe in Indonesia, maybe I would like to compare with the TKDN. TKDN is tingkat komponen dalam negeri or it's about local content. I would like to compare this issue to another issue. In Indonesia, we have local content level, and this is opportunity for the Indonesian company to make it more and more Indonesian content like that. So it becomes the opportunity, and the companies start to develop the local content more and more. Maybe if I was not mistaken, the regulation is maybe like minimum 24%, and it will be grow and grow in the future. And some companies will see that this is a new opportunity for them to develop the local content. It's same to the green chemistry. If the green chemistry become big or huge demand in the future, so the company should start from now. And we start since 2005. And we see that it will work to the market, to the environment, because if we don't do that now, I think the impact will be more and more regarding the water treatment, right? Because my perspective is only for the water treatment. Of course, it will impact to another application, but I think this is the point of view for the BOD or the management, that from the opportunity that we also collaborate from our internal R&D institution, government, and also the university. We make not only about the commercial aspect as opportunity or business opportunity, also we can talk further about how to make it interrelated each other between the uh, kepentingan or urgency of the science or needed. Also, we make it applied in the market. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Just as a follow-up, I just wanted to understand because you have about 20 of these different chemicals. You have Max Green and Thermomax, and it seems like an increasing suite of products. Um, I'm trying to understand how it's separated out from the other activities because it seems like you have industrial products as a group, you have industrial infrastructure, you have chemicals, but then you have a fourth group, which is green solutions. And so, are these products that you discussed, is this part of the chemical group or is this part of the green solutions group, or are you not familiar?
Yeah, well, what I'm speaking now is related about the chemical only.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Oke, baik. Tadi ada satu lagi ya pertanyaan yang mau bertanya? Oh ya, silakan.
Thank you. Hi, Bu Liga. I'm Natasha from Pertamina Foundation. First, I strongly agree about what Bu Liga explained today, that regulation as a driver for change, and as you say that sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs is clear, and I think all of us are agree with that. And as we discussed before, in Indonesia, most of the consumers are using fossil fuel, and Pertamina, as the state-owned enterprises, have a role to make sure that security, sustainability, and affordability of the energy. And we know that we must transform, and Pertamina already established PNRA that focus to develop new and renewable energy. But for now, oil and gas is still the main business of Pertamina. So, uh, can you give us some advice about how can legal frameworks balance the needs for energy transition with the protection of existing fossil fuels industries, ensuring both environment sustainability and economic stability? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. And I realized that in my presentation, I'm not consist on the climate issues on my presentation because focus on the chemical management. But I also in charge in the discussion on how energy transition in Indonesia regarding among ministries. And now we are facing to fulfill our NDC for climate agreement on the UNFCCC and also Paris Agreement. So that's already consists how Indonesia can adopt what you call NDC, National Determined Contribution. Oh, the contribution from Indonesia to support those convention. And we already know that PNRA already developed a geothermal and also developed green hydrogen from geothermal. And we are still in discussion to how to downstream this green hydrogen become green ammonia. But still, it will be developed very well if the fiscal incentive also supported how market base can do very well, yeah, because it's really related with the economic condition and transition also, and also how compromise with the carbon tax, because we already have a carbon tax mechanism, but how to carbon market will be implemented between among industries or among sector in Indonesia still on the discussion. And also we are in discussion on CCS, carbon capture storage, and also CCUS. So still on the discussion among ministries, and we hope will come up sooner because the presidential decree on carbon capture and storage already established and should be uh, implement very well if the carbon tax or carbon mechanism also implemented, because even the CCS investor come, they will asking how the feasibility this CCS and so on. So how about the consumer of the CCS and other alternative energy will be discussed. And also about subsidize for the fossil fuel. It's related with the high political of presidential. So that's not my part to to comment on that. Yeah. So we will still wait. But I'm happy because I in charge in the group discussion. Thank you. This is answer your question or not because everything still on the round table discussion. So we will wait. And especially with PNRE, I also sometimes we have FGD with them also because CCS or green hydrogen or maybe green ammonia need the consumer also, right? And the consumer more visible from industries, petrochemical industries. That's my answer. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, that was a question again for you, sorry. So thank you so much for your presentation. I think it was really fascinating to see that you did express very clearly the difficulty that you have in controlling POPs in particular because of limited infrastructure for testing, but also possibly because of limited staff as well to sort of regulate. And so like I have kind of two questions. The first one is how do you see this in the future? Do you have a plan in Indonesia to try to tackle these challenges? Is it going to be more to increase your capacity in testing and regulating, or do you have any plan along these lines? And my second question is also, is there any effort in trying to use global framework to help you, so some of the regulations we discussed, and or maybe teaming up with other countries like Malaysia, Singapore, um, Southeast Asia, Thailand, and so on, to try to develop frameworks that could be useful for you locally, while helping you share the burden of testing, regulating. Is there anything along these lines that's happening here? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It's very hard to answer. Of course, we are actively with the region and also global. We are discussing in the ASEAN, among ASEAN, also APEC. We are active in APEC Chemical Dialogue, and they contribute discussion on the emerging issues on SciChem. So if we go to the local, yes, the problem still on the infrastructure and also the scheme and strong will, if that can implement more effectively if we have the umbrella law, because the regulation already exists but spirit among ministries and they just do by their scope that sometimes uh, make duplicate license, duplicate mechanism, so industry feel like burden so much. Yes, sure. That will be smoothly if we have special agency on chemicals like ECHA or maybe NICNEX Australia or EPA like that, because one special agency that from national level until to district they have strong the same scheme and the same infrastructure to support those chemical management. And also recently we are in the discussion of plastic pollution also that will influence our petrochemical company also, because in the idea still in the reduction of the petrochemical based on fossil fuel. That's really hard because in the national level, we only produce 30% of the needs of the plastic. 70% still import. So it will be directly influence our economic growth, industrial growth, like that. So still we should discuss in the win-win solution on the national level like that. And and also in the global, we actively on the SciChem and also UNEA or some like uh, study together with European and sometimes some country like UK, many effort to us to have capacity to handle these issues because SciCom after 2020 and then 2030 and 2030 is energy transition also and 2060 is NZA, not net zero emission, will come a lot. So we try to gain attention from harmonized national level, the same point of view, because it will really a game changer for our economic system. Sure, that that's we try to get attention. This is not only about the chemical issues like that, but really already influence on the export import and also the perspective of industry if they will invest these chemicals because you know that investment in the petrochemical is very high and will be need long term to get payback, so they need have strong policy from Indonesia to make sure that if they invest new industry or new green chemistry, uh, the feasibility study on economy already fulfilled. Like that.
Fantastic. I mean, Indonesia is lucky to have you.
Having you here also today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ada lagi tadi ya? So another question tadi jadi? Ya, oke, boleh silakan.
I want to ask Mr. Rian.
Yan lagi, ya.
Mr. Rian, could you tell me about multi-fuel hybrid boiler that produced in your company? Uh, I see that there is some composition of the fuel in that boiler. Could you tell what the higher composition that adding to the that boiler and then hydrogen? You said that it replaced in non-carcinogenic oxygen scavenger.
Yes, yes.
Is that influence the steam boiler efficiency or not? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's interesting question. The first one is for the fuel itself. We have the technology for the boiler, especially for the low pressure boiler, for 100% biomass usage. Yeah, so this is become prima donna di Teramax bahwa uh, what our powerful product is the biomass boiler, but the issues comes like the where is the source for the biomass because the demand will be high, will be huge, and we have in Indonesia, but it's also become trade-off between the biomass fuel for the boiler and also the plantation itself, the speed of the uh, plantation may be less than the demand of biomass itself. So I think it trade off between how demand and supply or supply and demand like that. So, but for the product itself, we have boiler for 100% fueled biomass. And the second question is about the oxygen scavenger, hydrogen compared to carbohydrate. Uh, as far as I know, the effectiveness of carbohydrate is big interesting point compared to another one, including compared to DEHA or another one because DH, yeah, we have another oxygen scavenger called DH to replace hydrogen, but carbohydrate is better than that. So if we compare to hydrogen, this of course is not carcinogenic, and for the steam quality is not affected. But for the effectiveness of the conversion, because in the boiler cycle we need the temperature around 205 uh, Celsius degree, you convert from the carbohydrate to become the uh, hydrogen inside the boiler water chemistry. Because why the hydrogen become carcinogenic? Because it vapor or it fume when we open before we inject it to the system. But we still need this chemistry for the boiler cycle. But for the effectiveness, as far as I know, is better because in the system when the temperature up to starting from the 205, it become hydrogen inside the cycle. So I think it's answers covering your question. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Pak. Ada tadi satu pertanyaan lagi untuk ya, boleh ya.
Thank you. My name is Muhammad Yudhistira Aziz from ITB. I would like to ask question to Miss Lily, Miss Tria, Mrs. Triliga from Ministry of Industry. Normally we see many evidence, about the pollutants we use. Although there are regulation, we have local regulation, but there are many violation from industry and also the poor customers. So what the ministry have been doing to being forced, to apply the regulation? Because for our academician or industry, we don't look the from the ministry. And the second one for Mr. Benny, you use any additive in your industry, any addictive compounds, how to regulate it to especially for the waste, for your industry, waste management for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. For first one, maybe I already mentioned before that because of we don't have umbrella law in the national level on the chemical management. That's why regulation among ministries different scope and sometimes duplicate like emergency response for industry. You should submit to Ministry of Industry. You should submit to Ministry of Work apa namanya? Manpower and also Ministry of Environment. That's only on the emergency response documents. That's the example. And after that, the symbol of hazardous chemicals. Ministry of Industry already adopted a globally harmonized system of classification on chemicals, but Ministry of Environment still with their regulation show different symbol. So industry put two symbol. One use GSS and the other with the other measurement. So it's very headache. That's why we already analyzed that one. And since more than 10 years ago, we already submit the draft of chemical law. But until now, not succeed yet. Maybe the government still consider how the effective this law and also the new agency, because new agency will maybe reduce the size of the ministries or another body become one like that. And the local government also they only follow from the national ministries, so they also have any obstacle which one I should implement, then they already have another concern in the district level. So that's why we still in the obstacle to harmonize this chemical management in one stream, one scheme that will be implement more smoothly. That's our homework, Pak. Sama-sama ya, Pak. No, not to forget. The homework already exists. Okay, we are homework.
Yeah, thank you. About the additive, the amount of the additive compound, the consumption is very small. Yeah, very small. Uh, and it also absorb the product. Yeah, maybe Pak Anip can give some explanation, technical explanation.
Thank you Pak Beni, izin Pak. Eh, eh, Pak, thank you Pak atas pertanyaannya. If you talk about additive in the paint manufacturing, the dosage is only 0.2 until 0.5%, and all of which must be absorbed, like Pak Beni said, into the film. But if we say that, if we see that one production capacity is 10 million kg per year, it will also absorb the additive, let's say 0.5 times the 10 tons, means sum of 50 ton kg. We will not let it be waste. So because the price around maybe up to $20 per kg. So the concern is how to preserve, not being waste. But in case the waste is uh, happen, we need to contain, and we have a procedure of containing the waste into the not to contaminate the environment. But initially, in principle, we try to not generate the waste of additive. Thank you, Pak.
I have suggestion for our industrial. Yeah, you must consider not just quantity after you being the waste. Yeah, you throw the chemical in waste, because for the chemists we consider how to uh, uh, accumulate in
Right,
environment
right, right,
from river until to ocean.
right.
So we found many evidence the accumulation the chemical in environment from industry area. Maybe you can consider not just quantity.
Yeah, right. Like
It can
the
degradable also.
Yeah, correct. Like in the slides, Pak Beni have said, we use a lot of coprose in the anti-fouling paint, and turns out it will release into the ocean. So development has been started, how to reduce the usage, how information not to contain that much level. So I have seen also in the professor's slides, in the past we have some chlorinated rubber paint, and then coal tar paints. They are also can release to in the environment. But nowadays, it's been slowly replaced, and maybe some chlorinated rubber paint already very small amount to replace. We have replaced with better option. So that's the drive is to change and not to easily released. Thank you.
We don't have
Yes.
station cultivate the waste, recycle the waste in certain canal or ocean. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we've been discussing yesterday. So, after there is the waste, how's the waste management? How do we put it in a confined space before we are releasing it to the environment? I think that also has to be considered, and that has to be part of the regulation of how the company is operating. So again, everyone, thank you again for the very exciting discussion. It's very good. I really appreciate the team, Unido, and also Yale University from McGill, also for coming for this initiative, for doing this conference, for doing the seminar, because this is a place where the various stakeholders are meeting together, because we're usually at our own cubicle, in our own buildings, in our own uh, a place that we work, and here is a place that we can discuss. And I think we all have the common goal that we want to have a better environment, because it will be impacting directly to us again and it's happening sooner, and it's already in front of our eyes. So again, this is a good way to start, and I hope that this program is also being delivered not only now but afterwards, how we can really implement and work together in achieving the common goal. I think that's a good discussion. And I think